You're standing in a cramped campaign office that barely deserves the name. The paint is peeling from the walls, and the donation jar on the table contains exactly $42 and a handful of foreign coins someone tossed in as a joke. Two volunteers sit in folding chairs, scrolling through their phones, pretending they believe the speech you're about to give at a community center will change anything. Your campaign manager, who is also your cousin and your only paid staff member, is calculating how many posters you can still afford to print before the bank account hits zero. You are running for president of a country that does not expect you to win. You know it. Everyone knows it. You started this campaign because you were angry about corruption, about the way power circulates through the same families, the same business elites, the same generals who appear behind every government whether people vote or not. For 15 years, you've been a lawyer who occasionally appears on television panels arguing that the system is broken. People clap, hosts nod sympathetically, and nothing changes. Running for president felt like the logical extension of yelling into the void. Then, the man walks into the office. He is not dressed like a criminal. He's dressed like a banker who could buy the building you're standing in and forget about the purchase by the end of the week. Two other men wait by the door. They say nothing, but they watch the room the way trained professionals watch exits. Your cousin stops mid-sentence. The man introduces himself only as Mr. Alvarez. He shakes your hand as if you're already someone important. "I watched your debate last night," he says. "You spoke about corruption, about the government being owned." You nod carefully. "I believe you," he says, "which is why I'm here." He sits down across from you and slides a folder onto the table. Inside are polling numbers you've never seen before, internal party data, demographic breakdowns, strategic projections of the elections 6 months from now. You stare at the pages. "How did you get this?" He smiles like the question doesn't matter. "You're polling at 3%, he says calmly. "In a normal election, you would finish 4th or 5th, maybe 6th. You close the folder. "I know. But with proper funding," he continues, "with advertising, infrastructure, regional organizers, protection for your campaign offices, and persuasion in certain areas, your chances change dramatically." You lean back. "And who exactly would fund that?" Mr. Alvarez looks at you with patient amusement. "My employers." You don't need him to say the word. Everyone in your country knows the word already. Cartel. For decades, they've existed like a second government. They control ports, highways, border crossings, entire provinces where police only patrol with permission. They move billions through networks of banks, shell companies, and legitimate businesses. Every administration publicly declares war on them while quietly negotiating which territories remain untouched. You stare at him. "I'm running to fight corruption," you say slowly. "And we admire that," he replies. "You admire it?" He taps the folder. Your country is collapsing. Politicians steal openly. Generals siphon defense budgets. Infrastructure funds vanish before construction begins. Our organization values efficiency, stability. Your organization traffics drugs. Our organization, he says gently, moves product that international demand has made extraordinarily profitable. The room feels smaller now. "What do you want?" he asks. "Access, predictability, a government that understands economic reality." You close your eyes for a moment. "This is illegal." "Of course." "And if I refuse?" He folds his hands. "Then you continue your campaign with $42 in donations, and someone else becomes president." He pauses. "Someone who will take our offer." You realize the trap is bigger than this room. If you refuse, the cartel will simply buy someone else, someone worse, someone less conflicted, someone who will not even pretend to care about reform. Your cousin is staring at you with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "How much funding?" you ask. Mr. Alvarez slides another page across the table. The number is larger than the entire national campaign budget of your last election. Your pulse quickens. With this, you win. "And afterwards?" "Afterwards," he says, "we work together." You sit there for a long time. You think about the speeches you've given about corruption, about integrity, about law. You think about the reality of your country, the politicians already owned by business oligarchs, the generals who negotiate their own budgets, the foreign investors who dictate trade policy behind closed doors. You realize something that makes your stomach tighten. Power in this country is already bought. The cartel is simply offering the most honest version of the transaction. What exactly would you expect from me as president, you ask? Mr. Alvarez shrugs lightly. Certain law enforcement priorities adjusted, certain investigations delayed, infrastructure contracts directed towards companies we recommend. And if I refuse later? His smile never changes. Then we will be very disappointed. You close the folder. Your entire life has been about criticizing the system from the outside. This is the moment where the system invites you inside. Okay, you say quietly. Mr. Alvarez nods once. Good. He stands and extends his hand again. When you are president, we will speak again. 3 months later, your campaign becomes unstoppable. Money appears everywhere. Television ads run hourly across the country. Volunteers suddenly number in the thousands. Entire regional offices open overnight. Polling surges as voters start seeing your face everywhere, hearing your speeches, believing the momentum. Opponents begin withdrawing quietly. Journalists start asking questions about your funding. Those journalists are reassigned by their editors. You win the election with 54% of the vote. The night of your victory speech, as fireworks explode over the Capitol and supporters chant your name, you spot a familiar figure standing calmly in the crowd. Mr. Alvarez. He nods once. The message is clear. You are now the president, and the cartel's investment has matured. The first year is about learning how power actually works. You discover quickly that being president is less about speeches and more about managing invisible pressures. Generals expect promotions. Party leaders expect rewards. International partners demand trade concessions. Intelligence agencies present threats that always seem to justify larger budgets. And then there is the cartel. Their requests arrive politely at first. A police chief reassigned, a port director replaced, a customs inspection program quietly shut down. Every request comes with reasonable justification. This officer is corrupt. This port director is inefficient. This inspection system harms economic growth. And sometimes they are even telling the truth. You approve the changes one by one. Each decision seems small. Each decision moves the government slightly closer to alignment with the cartel's interests. You tell yourself this is temporary, that once you consolidate power, once your administration stabilizes the country, you will slowly push back. But the second year reveals the deeper reality. The cartel is not a single organization, it's a network of factions. And now that you are president, every faction wants access. One group demands protection for their shipping routes. Another wants infrastructure contracts. A third insists on eliminating a rival organization operating in the north. The intelligence reports crossing your desk start including phrases like cartel-aligned militia and armed convoy activity. Your defense minister suggests deploying the army. Mr. Alvarez visits your office the next day. That would be unfortunate, you say. They're killing people. They are resolving a business dispute. It's a war. It will end quickly if the government remains neutral. You realize something that had not occurred to you during the campaign. You are not simply managing a government, you are managing a criminal ecosystem. Every decision you make affects billions of dollars in illegal revenue streams. Every law enforcement action shifts power between violent organizations. If you move too aggressively, you risk destabilizing the delicate balance that keeps violence contained. If you do nothing, the state becomes little more than a referee for organized crime. Your third year begins with a crisis. A rival cartel launches an offensive against territories controlled by the organization that funded your campaign. Cities near the border erupt into violence. Governors demand military intervention. The army is ready to deploy within hours. You call Mr. Alvarez. This stops now, you tell him. He listens quietly. You cannot stop it. I'm sending troops. People are dying. Yes, you funded my presidency to maintain stability. And stability, he replies calmly, sometimes requires allowing certain events to conclude naturally. You realize the truth behind his words. They want the other cartel destroyed, and they expect the government to stay out of the way. If you intervene, the cartel that funded you may turn against your administration. If you stay neutral, thousands may die. You spend the night reviewing intelligence briefings. By morning, you make a decision. You deploy the army, not to fight the cartel, but to seal the borders of the conflict zone. Military checkpoints block highways, helicopters monitor movement. The army prevents either side from expanding beyond their territories. The war continues, but it remains contained. After 6 weeks, the rival cartel collapses. Mr. Alvarez visits again. You made things more complicated, he says, but you accepted the outcome. I accepted reality. He studies you carefully.